you are best known for the adventure documentary Intrepid New Zealand. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, it's a story. It's a series of stories where we recreate pioneering adventures, so adventures of 100 years ago.
Yeah, and you do it with no technology of today. It's
no, exactly. So we get dressed up in the old waistcoats and the old boots and the old ropes and things like that, and try and do what they did and tell the story of doing that.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, is there kind of stuff behind the scenes kind of keeping you safe, or are you doing it the hard way?
There is something there.
Yeah.
Like I try and tell my wife this, that yes, there is a rope, you just can't see it. Quite often there is, and not all the time. Actually, surprisingly, the most dangerous things are actually not the stuff that you see on the show. It's because we're out in the back of the woods doing these sorts of things, and when we move from place to place, things seem to go wrong. We've lost a couple of people off the set. Luckily it hasn't happened on the show. No, not died, no.
Oh, right.
They've injured themselves. It's
like, wow, that is more dangerous than even I imagined.
No, exactly.
So does your wife kiss you goodbye and go, oh, honey,
she does a little bit. Much. And when we sit and watch the show, even though she knows it went well, because I'm right there, she just sits there with her arms crossed and looks very stonily.
I tell you what, that is the way to appreciate your partner, isn't it? Send them off to do something really dangerous and you will really appreciate having them in your life.
That's right. You should try that.
I might. So listen, tell me about the South Pole expedition. That sounds just incredibly dangerous.
Yes, it was, I guess, but you know it's going to be that way.
So what was the extent of the adventure for the South Pole? Like, you know, how long did it take? How cold was it?
Well, for all of these adventures, the transatlantic race and the South Pole trek, it's about 90% is getting to the start line. So by far the hardest part is all the preparation you do, because you don't want to start and it to be a completely new experience. You know, so you've got to get used to the cold.
Yes.
You've got to get used to towing the weight around. So we towed a lot of car
That's the weight
tires.
of the sled.
The weight of the sled,
Yeah.
yes, the weight of the sled. Because we're doing it unsupported and unresupplied. So you start off all the food and fuel you need in your sled. So there's no horses or dogs or tractors, they're going to pull it.
Right.
And you have to pull it the 1,200 k's and the 10,000 feet into the pole.
100 k's. And so how long did that take? How many days were you away?
Took 52 days to do the trek, and you're away a bit longer because of the start and the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was the worst thing that happened?
The worst thing, you know, wasn't an incident that something went wrong. It was the general feeling that you're slowly getting closer and closer to death when you're down there. Because and it sounds funny, but it's true, because you can't take all the food you need for the trip. You just physically can't carry it all in your sled. If you took all the food in the sled, it would take you more days to get to the end than what you planned for, so you end up having to take more food, and so you don't.
So you only have enough food for? You
have less food than you need. So you're there for 52 days, you probably take 40 days worth of food.
Yeah, I'm going off this. I was thinking, count me in, you know.
You're actually the great shape for it. I'm a bit too big, so I pay for that. And so the hardest thing was that as you get near the end of the trek, about from halfway on, you start doing the big climbs up to the high plateau. Then you lose, you've lost a lot of, not only your fat, but you've lost a lot of muscle as well.
Right.
So you're getting thinner and thinner each day. I could put my knees together and look through my legs. I haven't been able to do that for a long time. And you can feel that you're losing your strength, and the cold starts to get incredibly intense the closer you get to the South Pole. And your hands are getting warm, and then they're freezing and warming again. So that all that thawing and rethawing, the nerves start to die back. And so that your hands are like little wooden pegs, and the mask is freezing to your skin. And you wake up in the morning and your lips are frozen shut, and you're going, So there's no one worse thing, but all of them add up to...
So over time, probably the drag, does it just get worse and worse?
This weighs on your head, because you know you've got to stick to the schedule that you've set yourself, and it takes all your time and effort to get there.
And what thoughts go through your head? How do you actually make yourself keep going?
Well, it's not like you've got sky. You don't really have any other choice. If you're in the tent, you know, that's the hardest thing. It's harder now to get up and go to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I can stay in a nice warm bed. And you're in the South Pole, in Antarctica, the only way to get to the South Pole is to get up out of your bed. So it's actually, in that sense, it's a bit easier as well. And having a friend there as well on the other side, because you know he can't get there unless you get there. So it's not really an option not to go.
It's quite an interesting point that you make, that actually perhaps some of the things stopping all of us from doing the things that we want is the kind of comfort and a bit of laziness.
It's the other options. We've got so many more fun things that we could do to try to defer the gratification that we want. And yet that's exactly what it takes. The trick is, I mean, if I did learn one thing, and I had a lot of time to think down there about what I've learned, I thought when I get home, I'm going to try and make these choices simpler for myself. So I'm going to, if I'm going to try and lose weight, I'm not going to have the fast food in the fridge or even in the house, because then I don't have to choose again and again. It's what's in. If you can cut away all the extra things that make those choices hard,
Yes.
then doing the right thing becomes a lot more simple.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you want to lose weight, just go back to the South Pole. That's the other way to do it.
That's true.
You could start boot camps or something, take people to the South Pole for weight loss.
When you see the before and after pictures, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like I weighed 110 kilos at the start. I beat myself up because I knew I was going to go through it. And I lost 23 kgs in the 50 days. So it's a pound a day.
Wow.
Imagine a pound of butter and losing it.
I can't imagine that, actually.
You couldn't last it. But you'll be fine, you'll be fine.
I'd last about a week and I'd go, I'm over it.
Do you know, the fastest person to the pole, when we were down there, there was this English woman who was trying to attempt to be the fastest unsupported to the South Pole. And she was hoping to claim the record of the last fastest person, which was also another English woman.
Yeah. Wow, what is it about the English?
And she also was, and she had claimed it of this other woman. So in fact, the fastest people to the pole were all females.
So all women, the fastest people
the fastest to the pole, up until very recently, were all women.
Well, you know, what can I tell you? We know how to dig in, you know.
Yeah. See, that's Captain Scott's mistake. He took blokes.
Ah, yes, of course. I heard you say that you used to be a couch potato, and
Yes,
I find
yes.
that hard to imagine.
Well, the TV show came from doing the South Pole trek in the Atlantic race, and the Atlantic race came from having a bit of a midlife or a quarter-life crisis when I was 33 years old. And there's lots of guys out there, I'm sure you've experienced this, where you think you're going to live until you're 100, all through your 20s, you just get stronger and better, and then you turn 30 and you've seen it coming for a long time, it's no big deal, and then you get to 33 and suddenly you're in your mid-30s.
Yeah.
And then before that it'll be 40. And there was this real crisis caused in me that I thought that this is, for the first time, a year had always seemed like a long time.
Yeah.
And then for now I could see 40 years in front. And I'd be doing exactly what I was doing now in 40 years' time unless I changed it.
Yes.
And which would be fine if I was doing what I wanted to do, but I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I was working in a corporate, which was great, and paying some bills, which was fantastic. But I wasn't doing what I wanted to do when I was like 12 and didn't quite know the way the world worked, but I was really excited about things. I wasn't excited about what I was doing. I wanted to be an astronaut or in Indiana Jones or a fireman or something back then. And so I decided that I had to make some tough choices about what I was doing. So I quit my job, left my house, sold my house, left my girlfriend and went back home and lived with my mum for a bit. And that's when I sat on the couch for some time trying to work out what to do. And it was while I was doing that I saw a news clip about a person to complete, the last person to complete the transatlantic rowing race for that year. And I thought to myself, I bet that's not as hard as it looks.
So, you know, in all your adventures, what do you think is the key thing that you've learnt?
Well, for me, if I ever have an idea to do something like this, the most important thing is to meet someone who's done it similar. Because you meet them, they see the flesh and blood. And if they're a real person and they can do it, I'm a person, I can do it too.
Fantastic. And that goes for all of us, doesn't it? Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Kath.